Welcome back to another episode of Drilling Deeper. I'm Kevin Yanik, the editorial director of Pit and Quarry, and today we're going to be talking about the future of mining and aggregates, a discussion with Luckstone's Travis Chewning and Virginia Tech's Erik Westman. But first, a word from our show sponsor. Did you know East Rock Solutions is now part of the Kemper Group? And together, they're raising the bar on parts availability, equipment solutions, and turnkey plant design. From the pit to the stockpile, Kemper Group has got your operation covered. To learn more, visit KemperEquipment.com or call 610-273-2066. Thanks to Kemper. All right, well, as I teased at the top, we're going to be talking about the future of mining and aggregates, and we're going to be putting a special spotlight on a program that emerged this year at Virginia Tech University. That's the Built for the Mine program. It included a special forum that took place in recent months, and they really hit the pause button, I would say, on kind of the day-to-day work that those who took part do, and they took a look at the future of the aggregates industry at large. And I think about my time in aggregates, I've been in and around the industry for 13 plus years now, and the industry is changing. I mean, it's changed dramatically in the last decade, and it seems like it's changing more by the day, rapidly evolving. And in aggregates, we're regularly talking about things here in 2025 like automation, AI, autonomous hauling, precision drilling, and all of these things are really going to shape tomorrow's operations. It's not necessarily how we operated 10 years ago with those things in mind, but they're present today, and they're rapidly going to be integrated into how aggregate operations of tomorrow do their thing. And if an operation doesn't change around concepts like those, it's probably eventually going to fade away. So on top of changing technology, which is a focus of the Built for the Mine program that we're going to hear about in a bit, the workforce remains a huge challenge. It's something we talk about regularly on the program here on Drilling Deeper, and technology and workforce really should go hand in hand, and I think that's kind of where Virginia Tech's Built for the Mine program comes in. So on today's episode, we're going to do a deep dive and take you inside this special forum, this special program, Built for the Mine, which really brought together a variety of bright minds this year, and we're talking about a whole slew of different avenues that were involved in this program down in Blacksburg. We're talking about aggregate producers who got involved, equipment suppliers, students, and we're going to talk with two of the people who are leading the charge, that being, again, Luckstone's Travis Chewning and Virginia Tech's Dr. Erik Westman. Just a little bit about these two gentlemen. Travis Chewning is the Vice President of Engineering and Operational Support at Luckstone. He's been with them for more than 25 years at this point. His role has changed in that time, too. He's covered operations, done things in engineering, business development, marketing, and other areas, and he has a Bachelor of Science in Mining Engineering from Virginia Tech, and that's not surprisingly where his connection to Erik Westman comes in. Erik Westman is a professor in the Mining and Minerals Engineering Department at Virginia Tech, and his expertise is broad into mining operations, rock stability, feasibility. And as you're going to hear from both Travis and Erik today, the Built for the Mine program at Virginia Tech is really all about preparing the next generation in mining and in aggregates, preparing the professionals for tomorrow. At its heart, Built for the Mine is a collaboration between academia, producers, equipment manufacturers, and service providers, really to make sure that students are built for the mine, making sure they're ready to step into their careers and equipped with the latest information, knowledge, and technology to allow them to do their jobs in an industry that's changing rapidly. The initiative, the Built for the Mine initiatives, guided by an advisory board who brings together leaders from some of the most premier companies in our industry, producers like Vulcan Materials, Martin Marietta, Luckstone, of course. These are people who not only know the industry, but people who care about its future, its longevity, its sustainability, and they care about mentoring and fostering the next generation of professionals that are going to lead our industry ahead. So you're going to hear a lot about the Built for the Mining Forum, which was an event that brought together about 60 to 65 people. Again, a good mix of producers, vendors, students, and faculty. Some high school students even participated. And it was kind of a jambalaya of folks who got together and talked about what's happening in technology, what's happening in the workforce, and how do we find a road forward for our industry? How do we carve out a future for the industry? The forum down at Virginia Tech packed a lot into a single day, and Luckstone's Travis Chewning is going to walk you through exactly what took place, but kind of a recurring theme that happened throughout that day was the idea of skating to where the puck is going, trying to prepare for the future of the industry rather than just remaining idle here in the present. And Travis and Erik are going to talk at length about what that future looks like for our industry. For me, this was not only my first opportunity to visit with Travis Chewning. I've had the fortunate chance a time or two before to visit with him about what's happening at Luckstone, including what they're doing on the autonomous hauling front, which is very exciting. And if you're interested, I'd encourage you to look back at one of our past episodes as we talked about Luckstone's venture there with Caterpillar on the autonomous hauling front in a previous episode. But this was my first experience to sit down with Erik Westman. Again, Erik with Virginia Tech University. And again, we're going to talk a lot about the Built for the Mind program and forum. And I thought it was interesting, as you'll hear at the back end of the interview, but Erik Westman provided kind of a good overview or update, I'd say, on what's happening with aggregates education and kind of where students are trending as they're looking at mining as a future and how aggregates as a niche ultimately fits into the greater pie for mining. So we packed a lot into our interview with these two across the next 25 minutes, and let's dive into that right now. Tell me a little bit more about the inspiration for this program, because I'd like to get some additional perspective, get that second voice into the story, and the forum itself. It sounded like it was an exciting event. So tell us what happened.
Erik, you want to take a shot at that? Or you want me to?
You start, and then I'll fill in whatever I can.
Yeah,
it was Travis's idea. The forum was actually proposed by Travis, so I'm going to pass the baton to him there.
Okay. Yeah, appreciate that, Erik. Yeah, the original vision for this thing, Kevin, was, as you know, we've talked on a couple different occasions. There's a lot going on in the industry from a technology perspective, a lot of change, a lot of excitement, a lot of innovation, and the Built for the Mind advisory board for Virginia Tech. Its mission is really trying to get a group of passionate folks that care about, the future of the industry and a lot of data and technology and sort of the digital sort of evolution or revolution that's happening, really trying to advise the department, support the department and the students so that the students are ready for the mining industry of the future, the aggregate industry of the future, right? So that's why we call it Built for the Mind, right? The students are built for the mine. And that the group is unbelievably committed. It's a great group of folks. We have representatives from obviously Luckstone, Martin Vulcan, Austin Powder, Epiroc, Caterpillar, Carter Machinery. Am I leaving anybody else?
Pascal Associates.
Pascal, that's right, Pascal Associates. So it's just a really good group of folks that have a ton of passion and connection back to Virginia Tech and care about what we're doing. So when we were in our board meeting last summer, we were just brainstorming, how do we keep the flywheel moving in, I guess at that time it was 2025, 2026 or 24-25 school year. And one of the ideas that came out was, with all of the excitement that's going on in the industry, what if we got a group of folks together that could assemble at Virginia Tech? And the original vision was where we get students, we get academia, we get producers, and we get suppliers all together for a forum where we can just have really good open discussion about where the term we kept using is like, where's the puck going? The Wayne Gretzky, skate to where the puck's going, not to where the puck is. Yeah. So that became kind of the theme of the event. So that was the idea that kicked it off. And then as it started to take shape, kind of what it looked like and the way we actually executed a pretty incredible day. We had about 60 to 65 attendees. Yeah. It was a pretty good mix of academia, producers and vendors, probably most heavily represented by producers. We had some students. It was awesome. We had 2 high school students that were interested in mining as a career or curious about it. Yeah. And somehow found out about the event and attended and actually contributed, and really asked a lot of good questions. Yeah. So then the format we used was a morning, I don't know, it was maybe two sprints of about an hour and a half, hour and 45 minutes a sprint, where we had these, and this was Dr. Westman's idea. I thought it was a really good one. We did 10 to 15 minute presentations. They were really quick hit presentations. So there was no one getting bored in the audience for sure. Yeah. and a very limited Q&A time, but a little bit. But the topics ranged from autonomous hauling to some really interesting camera technology to identify and watch gases. When you shoot, you can create some NOx gases that are things you don't want to create. So this using AI and camera technology to be able to understand kind of where the root cause in the shot was, like where was the problem, by looking at the video and sort of backing it into the actual initiation sequence and being able to trace the NOx back to a certain hole. We had Pascal sort of talking about the latest and greatest on hydraulic nuts and the safety aspects and how that's changing the industry. We had a professor talk about some of the advanced wireless communication technology and where that's going. We had Epiroc gave a presentation on the use of GPS and precision drilling, if I remember right.
We kind of divided it into two halves.
I know I'm missing a few presentations there that morning.
Yeah, the first of the two sprints that you mentioned was kind of recent advances within our industry, and then the second one was recent advances in parallel industries. And so we talked a lot about, like Travis said, in the second one, the wireless. We had faculty members from across campus, taking advantage of meeting here at Virginia Tech, and even a lot of data analytics and artificial intelligence, machine learning, and that type of stuff in the second one.
Yep, and each one of those had a little bit of Q&A. We broke for lunch, a lot of good, ad hoc discussion over lunch. And then after lunch, we did 2 facilitated sessions where it was really group discussion in an auditorium of about 60 folks. And we did some surveys, gathered some data, and the intent of those 2 sessions were really about, what is the group excited about? Like what do folks see value in terms of how the industry is changing? What are some of the biggest barriers? Like, what are the things that are getting in our way? And we actually captured some really good data from that we've shared with a lot of the producer members that were a part of this, that, I know within Caterpillar has been used at least 4 or 5 times in product development work. And then the second half of the session was really about, okay, now that we understand what we're excited about and what the challenges are, we had a really rich discussion about what can we do now as an industry or as academia or as vendors. Like, what can we do to start to overcome some of those challenges? Like, what are some of the things that we can take within our control and try to have positive movement? And I would say I had the opportunity or the honor, whatever you want to call it, to facilitate those 2 discussions, and it was lively, highly engaging discussions, and almost to the point where, as a facilitator, you were trying to control the conversation and not let one topic take 2 hours of airtime. You know what I mean? Like it was exciting, and I think the feedback from everybody who attended was that it was different, I think, than they expected, and very exciting, energizing, valuable, and to the point where I think we're gonna maybe do it again next year. So
yeah, that's really exciting. Just to kind of jump in on the afternoon part, with it being the first time, there being people kind of maybe new and not knowing all aspects or every aspect of the industry, you think maybe there'd be crickets from some people, but it sounds like the program was moving and it was engaging, and it got people excited, got people talking. Travis, you mentioned something too that I kind of found interesting. You had an example of how Caterpillar took some of this information and they were using it and they were adapting, changing from it. So I almost wonder if the benefit was twofold. I mean, we're kind of reaching out to next generation here, but at the same time, we're the producers, the suppliers, and others participating. It seems like they're using this to kind of assess, hey, where we are, so that we can help that next generation too. So I guess it sounds like a twofold thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And the one I don't want to miss, and I think we were successful here, not as successful as I know we will be in the future. The timing of the event, we had limited student participation, which was part of the original vision. So we're excited about our timing and our planning for next year to try to increase student engagement, because that's another outcome, right? Is for students to get excited. We need folks interested in our industry. And that was one of the visions for this event. And we did some of that, but we look forward to doing more of that. And then the second one, and we were successful here with a couple professors that made time to sit in on some sessions and participate. Um, you know, professors don't get as many opportunities to understand and hear that much from industry and whether it's producers or vendors, because of the number one barrier that came up in all of the sessions to leveraging all of this excitement and technology came down to our workforce and our people. Like our workforce readiness to embrace change and have the competency and have the skills to be able to leverage, you know, precision drill blast or AI or autonomy, right? There's a different skill set you need. And we need professors to continue to be inspired by that, learn about it, so that that's, showing up in the classroom, whether it's in field trips, guest speakers, professors learning and incorporated into curriculum. So that's another really valuable part of this Quarry of the Future forum that we had some success there and look forward to building on it.
That's an interesting point too.
Is that fair, Eric, from your perspective?
Yeah, I was going to ask Eric. That's not something I thought about. What Travis just said about how, are we passing down the relevant, the most modern tech, the most modern advancements to students in schools? How important is that, so that we're not, telling them today about the industry as it was 10, 20 years ago?
Exactly right. I think in any discipline, and I'm probably going to go off and I won't take long, but this may only be tangential, but any discipline within engineering, there's very little research. We're a Research One university, and we need to write proposals and win research contracts and support graduate students, but all that research is not done in a field, right? They don't do any more research in mechanical engineering. All of that's been developed. So it's all transdisciplinary across multiple disciplines. So we do research across multiple disciplines, but we teach in one field. And you're exactly right. Sometimes what gets taught is what we learned 5, 10, 20 years ago instead of what's being used right now. And so, yeah, that's absolutely one of the goals is to, I've got this little 3x5 card I found, Travis, actually. It's from, I think, 2018 when we were first getting going.
Okay.
And it's the future of mining. It's built for the mine. Future of mining depends on forward-thinking education, companies, and people. Built for the mine embodies the best. The key message: develop the next generation of people and technology for the next generation of mining. So that's kind of why we exist.
Yeah, Eric, I don't know if it's worth mentioning. I'm not sure if Kevin's got awareness around the new. I'm gonna butcher the name, but your autonomous
Center for Autonomous
Lab.
Mining. Yeah,
Oh,
Center
wow.
for Autonomous Mining. Yeah. Yeah, so the building where the mining engineering department is housed here at Virginia Tech is Holden Hall. It was originally constructed in 1939. And it has a main section that's 3 floors, and then it had an L-shaped 1-floor section in the back. And the state identified that as underutilized, close to campus. And so we went through a renovation, and now it's built up to 4 floors. But one of the facilities is the Center for Autonomous Mining, and students can learn about design, build, and test lab-scale robotic equipment for loading and hauling, and learn about productivity, about fuel usage, and about equipment abuse, collect actual data and then do the data analytics on it, just like you would at a site, but it's a controlled lab setting. And we can couple that with the Caterpillar simulator that we have. So we are really trying to keep abreast of the changes within the industry.
That's
got to be inspirational to anybody walking through.
Yeah.
Pretty cool. Yeah. It's definitely an eye catcher when you walk through the building. It definitely grabs your eye.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I just think about, and certainly as Kevin, at Luck, we're extremely excited about autonomy and what that's going to do for the industry and our people. I get excited about what all this looks like in 3, 4, 5 years in the future, with the Built for the Mine initiative, the Quarry of the Future Symposium, having resources like the the Center for Autonomous Mining, and then some of the key relationships that we have through the Built for the Mine group. There's I think there's a lot of excitement in the future around how we live out that 3x5 card, Eric, that you were just reading from.
So Travis, you alluded to maybe the timing wasn't the best. It sounds like the program's going to continue, because I remember when we talked originally, you guys were kind of feeling it out, seeing how it was executed. It sounds like there was obviously interest, and it sounds like something that wants to be replicated. So take two, the second one. What's the plan at this point? And in terms of frequency, in terms of shaping it or reshaping it a little bit, tweaking it, what might be ahead for it?
Yeah, so I think we're in the middle of that planning. I think we have did we set a date or a week?
We did. Yeah, Tuesday, February 10th. Tuesday, February 10th,
Okay.
2026. Again, here at Virginia Tech.
And I think in terms of the format, Kevin, we're still working on that. I think the prevailing thought from the group was to really kind of build on what we learned in the first event, right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
So to take a lot of the data, and we think about, like, what are the top barriers or what are the top things folks are excited about, and just going another layer deep in the onion, right? Unpacking that further, just kind of a build upon event, because that's what people care about. That's what's high on people's minds. So whether the format is exactly the same, whether we try to incorporate panel sessions or breakout rooms, I think we've got a lot of ideas. We haven't, that planning will probably start here in the fall. So,
Do you anticipate, now that you got one under your belt, maybe there be some additional partnerships tacked on to number one?
I think
like,
so.
certainly
And
open. Yeah.
yeah. And this one this year, that we completed, really, we got the word out, regrettably, kind of late, and it was a regional meeting. Most of the people drove, but nevertheless, as Travis has shared, it went very well, and so that's exciting for us. And now to have the date set and partner with NSSGA on getting that advertised, we're expecting an even better one next year.
Guys, maybe just kind of bringing it home a little bit, but I was just thinking the other day about the workforce. We talked about this, all kind of centers around the workforce of the future. And I was just kind of coming back to, rather than just talking about it, we've got a lot of partner companies here invested in the industry, and they're doing something. They've come together, and you guys are trying to solve a big problem for the industry. And it kind of just came around to the thought of, like, everyone's got to do at least one thing, got to do something, and this is a big thing. This is a collaboration. So just with that idea in mind, and how we're still trying to solve the workforce, build the workforce up, promote our industry, this is doing all of that. I guess, what messaging would you say to others in the industry? You guys are obviously in Virginia. There's other parts of the country too that face the same challenge. So I guess, what would you share with them to kind of inspire them to maybe follow suit, to show that, hey, this can be done. This is a pathway to maybe build up a workforce in your corner of the country.
Yeah, my thoughts of that, Kevin, is number one, and we talk about this a lot in our group, is our industry is incredibly exciting right now.
Yeah.
I mean, if you had to think about, a high schooler trying to think about a career choice, I think awareness is the at least the start. Awareness of the student and awareness of their family around what mining of the future actually looks like and how exciting that is. I think we all have an advocacy role, right, to champion that and tell that story. And then second, I would say, Virginia Tech sends students, graduates, all over the globe, and has for many years. So just because Tech is a regional location, Tech has a global reach, right? So I would just encourage folks that have passion and interest to get engaged with Virginia Tech, to certainly, be a part of and
Yeah.
contribute to and hire students from, right? And then lastly, I know Eric's talked about this, is we'd love to inspire other mining schools to do similar things. We don't want this to just be a Virginia Tech thing. We'd love to help other mining schools replicate it. Or it doesn't even necessarily have to be a technical mining school, in its traditional sense, but I think anything that others would like to learn from what we're doing, if they wanted to scale it and replicate it, that's certainly another idea. I don't know. Those are my three thoughts, Eric. I don't know if you've got.
Yeah, I'm just going to add one thing. Yeah, I mean, you're spot on, Travis, and we do want to encourage other schools to do this. Another thing, Kevin, that you may not be aware of, that Built for the Mind does is a Corey 101 course. It's an 8-hour course that we have a couple of times a year. This past April, I think, we were at Epiroc outside of Denver. And, we have industry people speaking about drilling and blasting and loading and hauling and crushing and screening and safety and site location and the importance and the economic considerations and all those things. And the registration fees for that, NSSGA collects, and half of them, we really appreciate the generosity of the partners like Travis who give the talks. Half of those registration fees come to Virginia Tech to support students for scholarships. Half go to NSSGA to support students across the country with scholarships. And it's the same with the Quarry of the Future Forum. We're not trying to make money. We're just trying to cover the costs, but any excess money we do make will be returned as scholarships to the students.
That's fantastic.
That's a great ad there.
Is there? That's a good point. I mean, we talked a lot about the forum and how that's kind of part of the Built for the Mind program. Is there? I'm glad you added that, Eric, because obviously there's more to the equation here. Is there anything else that I'm missing that this program entails?
Guest lectures and field trips and even summer internships. Both Luck and Carter have hired students and now full-time students into kind of data analytics within mining roles. And Caterpillar hosts about a dozen of our students every fall in Peoria for a student leadership experience, which is really appreciated, makes a big impact on them. So I'm sure I'm missing some, but yeah, it's been great.
Sure.
Yeah, there's a Built for the Mind walk typically at like a Ag 1 show, like a floor walk where a bunch of industry folks will gather around the students on a set time and take 2 or 3 hours and just walk the floor with the students and help them network and learn and get to know them.
Yeah. That's right.
Guys, if I can ask one more question, and maybe I'm reaching, maybe it doesn't necessarily fit here, but I'm just curious because maybe it does. But I think about mining education, just discussions over the years. Aggregates is obviously a part of that. It almost seems like, from what I've been kind of shared, it seems like maybe sometimes it isn't promoted as much. So it seems like here's a program, and there's a forum, obviously, that's putting aggregates front and center. That's kind of, hitting home to everybody participating that, here's a pathway. This is a pathway.
Absolutely.
It doesn't have to be this, mining or
Right.
you know what I mean? So I guess I wonder from a strictly aggregates standpoint, obviously that's Luck's business interest, but what do you think this does to better promote that niche, if you want to call it a niche of the greater mining industry and how aggregates, for example, fits into the Virginia Tech approach?
Yeah.
You want to take that, Eric?
I'll say something and you can add. The very root of the Built for the Mind program was Brian Smith getting together with Don Weinhold at Caterpillar, as Travis said, at Ag 1 and taking some of our students around the floor. And we have been wanting to do something with Caterpillar. And Don was so impressed with our students. This, I think, was 2017, 2018. And that was really what kind of sparked this whole thing. But I bring up Brian Smith's name, not only because he kind of helped start this whole thing, but he was our first graduate from this department to go full-time into the aggregate industry. And historically, Virginia Tech, the students would come up from the coal fields in farther southwest Virginia. They'd get a degree and they would go back. But that really has changed. It changed maybe through the 90s. And they don't come from Bluefield and Princeton anymore. They come from Richmond and Northern Virginia, and they want to go back to an urban setting. And so about half of our students now do go into the crushed stone industry, not just regionally, as like Travis said, they're going nationally and internationally. And so they're going to Dallas and Denver and San Diego and everywhere else. I've got students with internships up in Alaska, summer internships. So it is a big part of our program, and to be candid here, some of our students feel like it's maybe too big of a part.
Okay.
They're starting to push back and say, well, I want to go try gold mining in Nevada, and that's great. We've had students do that before. What I'm seeing is that other programs, and we're seeing new programs starting. Bluefield State is restarting their mining engineering technology program. University of Texas at El Paso, their mascot is the miners, but they haven't had a mining engineering program for decades, and they're restarting it because of the demand.
Wow.
And we're seeing these programs really start to embrace aggregates. I would say we did, 30 years ago or more, but we're seeing Kentucky, which has always been a coal school. We're seeing more and more of their students going to crushed stone. And same for WVU, same for the Colorado School of Mines, Nevada, Reno, Arizona. So it's got a growing impact, growing influence.
No, that's great. I wasn't aware of a lot of that, to be honest. Travis, just maybe as someone who went through Virginia Tech, just to kind of piggyback off Erik a little bit, positioning aggregates to a career person, someone looking for a pathway. How do you think we're positioning it today versus when you were going through Virginia Tech?
Yep. So the only reason it was, I think, positioned that way for me was at the time, a gentleman by the name of Dr. Karmas was the department head. And I went into his office as a freshman, said, I'm interested in mining, any advice? And he said, get a job. And he immediately picked up the phone and called 3 people in the aggregate industry because they were close to where I lived. And one of them was Brian Smith. Ended up getting hired by Luckstone, and then I got excited about Luckstone, which got me excited about the aggregate industry, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then at the time, Erik was spot on, and I think when I graduated, there were a few in aggregates, but it wasn't. It was maybe 10% of the department.
Yeah.
I think the bulk was coal, and then the next biggest was heavy metal, metallurgy, big mining. Copper, gold, etc. When I was coming through school, a lot of this was through my relationship with Brian Smith and even Dr. Westman at the time and others. That's when we first started the NSSGA student chapter. So I got to be a part of that with another fellow student, Matt Eisman. We started that NSSGA student chapter, and now that's been going ever since. And it's been a really strong program for the school. So I would just say, where the school and the students are now, and NSSGA, I think, deserves a lot of credit for really being an advocate, even all the way back to the late 90s of the mining program. There's a strong student chapter, there's strong alumni group that comes back and supports. And I would say, just from a student perspective today, coming into the program, I think there's still, if your passion is metallurgy, if your passion is, going to the far corners of the earth and doing some pretty extreme mining, like all of those opportunities still exist, and there's networks and there's professors that are passionate about it, and those paths exist. If you're passionate about coal, there's great relationships there. But what I'm excited about is now that there's an equal strength of alumni and passion and connectedness to the aggregate industry. So I think it just strengthens the program because it offers options, because one size doesn't fit everybody,
Yeah. Guys, anything else you want to mention that I should have asked, something that's central to the development of this program?
Yeah, I would just, the thing I would add, Kevin, you've certainly probably seen it through the years and felt it in this conversation, but Erik's incredibly welcoming and kind to the alumni in the industry that come back and support the school. But I would say none of this happens without the faculty and team down at Virginia Tech that are equally as passionate about the students and making this happen. So Erik, I think he fosters this Built for the Mind program on a lot of personal sweat equity and volunteer time, and has done an amazing job consistently since 2017, 2018, and has really shepherded this thing along to where we are today. So I think Erik in particular and the staff and the program at Virginia Tech deserve a huge amount of credit for raising their hand and wanting to do this. So
thanks, Travis. It's just been a great team to work with. It really has.
Big thanks again to Travis Chewning and Dr. Erik Westman for joining me. Guys, thanks so much. Just reflecting on the remarks there from the two gentlemen, kind of what really stands out to me about the Built for the Mind program, again, is how it brought so many different voices together. We're talking producers, suppliers, students, faculty, all really talking and thinking about where the industry is going and kind of where it needs to go at the end of the day. And that kind of collaboration doesn't just benefit those who serve or care about what's happening at Virginia Tech. I think that sort of action, those sorts of discussions, thinking about where the industry needs to go, at the end of the day, I think it benefits the entire mining industry, the entire aggregates industry, and really what's happening at Virginia Tech is something I would argue and contend that should be happening at other mining schools. It could be happening within our communities. If you're a vendor, a manufacturer, a dealer, it's just a matter of getting the people that are central to your community, to your territory together and exploring a road ahead. I think collectively getting together, having these sorts of discussions is essential, because in order to move the needle forward as a greater industry across the U.S. or across North America, across the globe, really, I think we need to have little conversations in our pockets, in our little pockets wherever it is we reside in, and that's ultimately what's going to collectively forward the industry for the greater good. So the Built for the Mind Forum wasn't really a one-time deal. They're already thinking about the next forum there at Virginia Tech. I think that's a great thing. It's something that we'd certainly love to be a part of and keep tabs on, here at Pit and Quarry in 2026 and whenever the road continues there with that special program. So again, I really want to thank Travis Chewning and Dr. Erik Westman for sharing what they're doing at Virginia Tech. Again, they're really forward thinking. They care about the future. They're thinking about how do we make this industry marketable? How do we pave a road forward for aggregates? And again, I think that's something that should be commended and potentially replicated elsewhere in the U.S. So if you missed our last episode of Drilling Deeper, we had Rich Saichi of Big Town Concrete on. Rich is currently the chair of the Texas Aggregates and Concrete Association. There's a lot of big things happening in Texas, as always. The Lone Star State is the #1 crushed stone producing state in the country, and Rich talked about the rapidly changing environment, population migration taking place into the state, and how producers there are preparing, how they're meeting the demands of today's market here in 2025, and how they're anticipating even more materials demand, tremendously more materials demand in the years and decades to come. So you won't want to miss that interview if you haven't yet taken a listen. Some of our other recent guests that we had on the program: Steve Fuller, a safety consultant who's the author of Pit and Quarry's Going Home Safely Every Day column. He was a guest on episode 46. Not surprisingly, he focused on safety, offered a focus on some summer safety issues that those in high heat environments would want to take a listen to. So encourage you to check that out. And we also had in recent weeks Eric Gauss of Dodge Construction Network on the program. So he talked about what's happening in various construction materials markets, offered a mid-year update of sorts, and looked ahead to what we can expect for the back half of 2025 here. So Eric Gauss of Dodge Construction Network on episode 45 of Drilling Deeper, covering a variety of topics. We talked about today, again, the future of the industry with a couple of guests, safety with Steve Fuller recently, Eric Gauss talking about the business environment and what you can expect. So covering the full gamut of all things the aggregates industry. Outside of that, we're going to be dropping our September edition of Pit and Quarry here very soon. So look for that in your mailbox, or the digital edition of our September edition here very shortly. And we're also continuing to shape up the next edition of the Pit and Quarry University Handbook that's scheduled to drop here in November. So look for that in your mailbox or on pitandquarry.com toward the end of the year. I want to thank again Travis Chewning of Luckstone and Dr. Erik Westman of Virginia Tech University for being our featured guests today. I want to also thank our show sponsor one more time. Did you know East Rock Solutions is now part of the Kemper Group? And together, they're raising the bar on parts availability, equipment solutions, and turnkey plant design. From the pit to the stockpile, Kemper Group has got your operation covered. To learn more, visit KemperEquipment.com or call 610-273-2066. Thanks to Kemper. Thanks again to Kemper for sponsoring today's show, and we'll see you again on our next episode.